If you give away the what, give away the why, and sell the how. So if you're doing podcasts, writing blogs, doing videos, whatever, like tell people what they should be doing and why they should do it. But then for the actual how-to, so the implementation, the walkthroughs of any tech, the deep dives into a strategy, that's the stuff you sell.
Welcome back to the Talking Web Marketing Podcast with myself, Ilana Wexler. This is a show where we reveal the best tips, tricks and tactics to increasing your website traffic and then converting that traffic into leads and sales. We also discuss what's working right now in the ever-changing world of web marketing so you can apply it to your business. Welcome back to Talking Web Marketing. I'm Ilana Wexler, your host, and today's episode is actually part 2 of the episode with Mike Morrison. So if you haven't listened to part 1, that's probably the best place to start because we literally continue where we left off. And if you did listen to part 1, well, good news, here is part 2. Mike continues to give a whole bunch of value and great information about running membership sites and populating them and getting members and keeping members and all that interesting and fun stuff. So be sure to check out this part 2 episode. And if you also go to our website, you'll find a bunch of free additional content as well. You can download the show notes from this episode as well as a free video course and a whole bunch of other stuff. So be sure to check out greenarrowdigital.com. Alrighty, on to part 2 of this episode. So you touched on before the fact that you had a Facebook group, and I feel this is a little bit controversial because there's, so much noise in the market about you should start a Facebook group and no, you shouldn't start a Facebook group, and is it free, is it paid? I'm interested in your thoughts on, obviously it was successful for you, and did you close that Facebook group or is it still running?
No, we've still got our Facebook group. I've got a major love-hate relationship with Facebook groups. First and foremost, it's Facebook. And, unless you've been under a rock for probably the last decade, but certainly the last year, like Facebook isn't necessarily the person you should be getting too much into bed with. No. It's a kind of necessary evil. It's a means to an end. But now, obviously, public sentiment outside of people in the online space is turning against them even more. But that said, it is still where most people are. And so if your audience are on Facebook, then when it comes to free groups as kind of either just a place to assemble your audience, then Facebook groups are where it's at. Nobody's going to join a Google Plus group for this stuff.
No.
Is Google Plus even still a thing?
I don't even think it exists anymore, does it?
I don't know. I keep just assuming it doesn't, and then getting an email once a year saying somebody liked this post on your Google Plus profile. So no one's rushing to join a Google Plus group. Facebook groups are where it's at. If you want to have the place for your audience to congregate and for you to develop that relationship, get insight into their challenges, their struggles, their problems, Facebook groups where it's at. For free groups. Yes. Paid groups, on the other hand, I don't think you should have on Facebook in most cases. When money's changing hands, when you're creating something that is actually a directly revenue generating business asset, not just something that's part of the marketing mix, but something that you are making money from, then I'm not a huge fan of building on someone else's turf, especially with Facebook, because you are giving up control. You are subject to any decisions Facebook wants to make, and they will not consult you on those decisions. If Facebook decide that what your group represents no longer matches up with their terms or their business objectives, they will shut your group down overnight with no recourse, no warning, and I've seen it happen. I've seen groups of 20, 30, 40,000 people disappear overnight with no recourse. You have no say in it. If Facebook decide they no longer want to offer groups, you've got no say in that. When Facebook eventually, and they will do this because they're trialing it already, when Facebook starts showing ads for your competitors to the members of your Facebook group, you cannot do a damn thing about it, and it's going to happen. So there's a lot that you sacrifice if you put your free group, your paid group on a Facebook. You can live with that stuff if it's a free group. It's not gonna. It's obviously it's not ideal, but if your free group disappeared overnight, yeah, it sucks. You're gonna have to find another kind of marketing channel, but it's a different kettle of fish from if you've got people who are paying you money, and a massive part of what they're paying you money for just gets wiped out because you can't even take a backup of the people who are in your group. You can't export that data and then put them into a forum or anything like that. So I'm not a big fan of Facebook for paid groups, but they can be massively beneficial for free groups. But with everything, like when you were saying about, there's so much out there saying, oh, you should do this, you have to do this, you need to do this. If you don't want to set up a Facebook group, don't set it up. Like generally, don't invest into a channel that you don't like or you're not comfortable with, because you won't, like, the fact that you don't want to have a Facebook group means that you probably won't show up, which means that your group will never get off the ground. Or if it does, you'll not be able to reap the rewards of it. It's kind of got to be something you want to do. And the same goes for a paid membership. Like, don't do it because everyone's saying you should do it. Do it because you want to do it. Otherwise, the very fact that you had to be talked into it probably means it's not going to turn out well for you.
Yeah. I probably fall into that category of somebody who has been told to start a Facebook group and resisted that advice. Just personally, I can't stand Facebook groups. I find it impossible to find any content or threads that I was watching, or like the search function is like archaic. It's just it drives me crazy. So yeah, like I've grappled with this many times about kind of don't I, but I just really dislike Facebook, and so
but then even in those cases, like we did with when we ran our 5-day challenge this year, and we're going to be doing some more of these, we set up a pop-up Facebook group where it's literally only been used for 10 days and then you close it down. So we had this separate to our free group just so that we weren't annoying the 8,000 people in our free group who didn't sign up to the challenge. Okay. We set this up as a separate thing, literally just to make use of the technology and for the ease and convenience, and because we could do Facebook Lives and stuff like that. And then we closed it down. So there's still ways of just using the tech without having to go all in on the platform.
Yeah, I think that's actually a happy compromise. Can I ask how you then, I would imagine like a Facebook group grows organically, like you see in the Facebook, when you're sort of in your newsfeed, that suggested groups and sort of the organic growth of Facebook happens. But with a pop-up group, I mean, how did you, did you email your database to get people in there, or did you do any other methods to populate that pop-up group?
It was a case of, to get into the challenge, you had to sign up via email. So we emailed our existing list, and we used one of those, just click this link and then they automatically get tagged and added to the list if they've clicked the link and they're an existing subscriber, rather than making them fill a form in again. And then, we just promoted it as we would any other lead magnet, just a bit heavier. So we ran some ads to the sign up page. We pimped it to our free group. We talked about it on the podcast. We had I think we had one of those, it's a convert bar. We had a little convert bar ribbon on our website in the build up to it and all that sort of stuff. And then, so we got people subscribed to the list for it. And then we said, okay, it's going to happen in this Facebook group. Here's the link.
Oh, okay. So if I understand you correctly, you did all a bunch of ads and the convert bar ribbon on your website, linking to an actual landing page on your website, getting them to register for it, and then via email you sent them the link to the pop-up group.
Yes. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Rather than sending them directly to the pop-up group.
Yeah, exactly. Because we wanted them on our list where we could, nurture that relationship.
Yes. Something I also wanted to ask you, because, I also have a membership. I don't know if you know that, but I've got free content and I've got paid content, and this balance between what do you give away and what is sort of like your best content that's contained in your membership. What are your thoughts on this whole balance of free versus your paid content?
Yeah, it can certainly be a little bit of a challenge. There's a good rule of thumb to use. If you give away the what, give away the why, and sell the how. So
Okay.
if you're doing podcasts, writing blogs, doing videos, whatever, like tell people what they should be doing and why they should do it. But then for the actual how to, so the implementation, the walkthroughs of any tech, the deep dives into a strategy, that's the stuff you sell. So
Okay.
you put that stuff into your membership. So that's for anyone who just kind of can't figure out where to put that line. That's an easy place to start. You get a sense of what should go where as time goes on, but that's a good starting point. It's also it's a case of depth as well, depth and specificity. So again, the stuff on in your free content should either be kind of like broad in terms of I'm trying to think of this trips me up because it's the wide and deep or wide and yeah, wide and shallow.
Yes, and
Specific, yeah,
narrow and deep.
yeah, yeah. So it's that kind of thing. If you're going to do a 10 ways to increase your sales and you're going to do that as a blog, you're not going to give a deep dive into all 10 of those things. So so you either go wide and shallow in terms of wide focus, but shallow in terms of detail. Narrow in terms of really specific, how to use live chat on your website to double your conversions. Like that's real specific in terms of topic matter, and you would deep dive into that. Whereas your membership should be wide and deep. Yeah, so you cover a wide range of stuff, but you go deep into all of those. So again, that's just another barometer that would have sounded so much more awesome if I didn't trip over it in the beginning.
That's okay. We've each had our turns at tripping over words,
Yeah.
haven't we? It's even now. I guess I might know the answer to this based on kind of what we've touched on already. But what would you say has been, your most successful traffic generating strategy for your own membership, and is that the same for the other memberships that you've seen your customers in your membership website?
Yeah, honestly, content marketing, like it's so boring and unsexy to say that.
It's okay.
But so much of our traffic comes from Google, comes from search.
Right. Just organic
You know,
search.
it's organic search, and that is because we've been putting out content consistently for 3 or 4 years, real specific, like staying really just laser focused on the niche as well. Like that's something people don't do enough. They start to sway, they start to broaden out a little bit too much. Just consistent content that remains really specific. We've just seen that traffic going up and up and up, and most of it comes from search. The podcast and the Facebook group have also been two other big pieces of the puzzle. We mostly use the podcast to drive people to the Facebook group because we kind of know that actually again, most of our stuff comes from search. And so like we don't want to just use the podcast to send people to the website. We want to maybe use that as an inroad to another route to the membership, which is through the Facebook group and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just organic search. And we've used Facebook ads as well to then amplify and accelerate the stuff that's happened organically. And that's certainly an approach that has worked better for us than using Facebook ads just for cold traffic.
Like lead magnets and that kind of
stuff. Even for lead magnets, like it's worked. It has worked, but at a cost per lead that's higher than I wanted, in all honesty. And we actually find in terms of Facebook ads that our best results come from sales remarketing. So checkout abandons, sales visits that don't end up in signups. Like our Facebook ads for those work like gangbusters, but for cold traffic generation and lead gen, they're nowhere near as effective. And again, we've seen that with clients who worked on in the past and stuff. I think it's because of the membership model. Right. I think it's because there's a little bit more of an on-ramp, a little bit more time and relationship and credibility establishment needed before someone will make that sale. So yeah, that's certainly been our experience.
Do you find that you sort of have a bit of a look in your Google Analytics and find your most popular content and just promote that content? Or do you, when you are in sort of promoting your content through Facebook ads, do you promote all of it?
It's tended to be it's kind of looking at the Google stuff and picking out the best performing content, but then having a little bit of a human sanity check and looking at that and say, okay, well, look, that's had the best conversions, but actually that article kind of sucks. So do we really, is that putting our best foot forward? And also, some of our most popular content, or all the content, maybe isn't as finely tuned in terms of its messaging and the segmentation side of things as we would want it to be by today's standards in terms of reflective of what someone's going to get inside the membership. So, one of our most popular things is it's an article we wrote in 2015 comparing course like LMS plugins. Yeah. Now that's a tiny, tiny part of what our membership covers. Like when it's less for online courses, it's more for, recurring memberships. And so maybe even though that still gets a lot of traffic, that's maybe not the article we pick out to promote because it's shining a light on, or it's maybe positioning and presenting what someone will get inside the membership inaccurately. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine in your membership of the people who have memberships, you would see some weird and wonderful niches. Can you give me an idea of some of the weirdest ones you've seen? Not mentioning any names, but
Yeah, we've got a one for like exotic fish.
Exotic fish.
So for exotic fish enthusiasts, there is this. I think it's not a weird one, but certainly like things that make me kind of, oh, that's quite cool. We've got someone who has an ultimate frisbee membership.
Oh, right, yeah.
And there's a lot of very, very different ones. But there's also like
classic ones.
There's the classic ones. Music instruction is a huge industry for memberships. Teachers, so selling resources to other teachers, like there's a massive market for that. We've got quite a few people in our membership, but then we got other really specific ones like memberships around passing a real specific type of exam in a real specific type of industry, all sorts.
Yeah,
but the exotic fish and the ultimate frisbee, I've been asked this question a few times, and there's one that I think is pretty standout, and I never remember what it is on the call. I need to write it down. I need to get it on a post-it note, and I'll remember the second we get off this call as well.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, I always find I've been running my agency for over 5 years now, and I get some weird business owners coming to me looking for help, with their ads, and it's always a bit of a running joke in my family, like kind of, oh, all right, this is the one we've never heard of. What's this person trying to sell, or what's this weird business? It never ceases to amaze me, the different kind of businesses that are out there. I mean, I find it fascinating, It
is. In my early freelance days, I actually got contracted to build a website for a porn star as well. Male porn star.
Oh.
Which certainly was interesting because a big part of my work was also adding their content onto the website. So I saw some stuff and,
you can't unsee that stuff.
You really, really can't. And this was pretty extreme homosexual pornography, which hey, they all seemed very happy, but
whatever floats your boat, huh?
Exactly, and it definitely made for some interesting conversations. I was staying with a family member and also working against a deadline, and they did not buy it when I told them the reason there's so much, male homoeroticism on my computer screen right now is because this guy's a client, and he needs this website launched next week because there's a convention. But
that is too funny.
I couldn't co-work either. I used to like co-working spaces. You can't take that to Starbucks.
No,
you really can't.
You definitely can't.
So yeah, but it was interesting. He was a lovely guy, great client as well, though.
That's
So,
so
you know,
funny.
hey, you
Um,
do what you got to do.
yeah, yeah, totally. If you were starting out now, is there anything that you would do differently?
It kind of depends on at what point I'd be starting. If it was literally all the way back in the day, um, I would charge more. Like
Right.
from going all the way back to freelancing, I would charge more
But
because I
but
walked
even
in
for
a
your
charge.
membership?
For the membership,
That's what I
hmm,
mean. Like if you're starting a
yeah.
membership now.
Oh, that's a really good question. The challenge that we used for our initial lead gen, I would shorten that because by the 15-day point, we started getting real anxious and we were like, we just want to know if people are going to pull the trigger and join the membership. So I would kind of shorten that on road. But otherwise, I, I would double down on the niche
Right. Choose,
harder
yeah.
and earlier because in the very early days, we were quite niche, but most of the content we put out would be the little thing we tended to add on everything was for memberships and online courses. So we still, technically, they're sort of the same, but they're not. They're two very different business models. And we were kind of in the early days straddling both. And it took 6 or 7 months before we ditched the online course part and we just focused 100% on memberships because the online course stuff just didn't fit. But now, as a result, as I was saying before, we've got some of our most viewed content is on stuff that's exclusively just about online courses, and that isn't aligned with really, the main side of what we do. It's nowhere near a major problem. It's just one of those little annoyances. So yeah, I would go deeper on the niche earlier, and I would segment from day one. We didn't really do that. We had a single lead magnet to begin with that we got them signed up with. But actually, our leads doubled pretty much overnight when we just hammered in on that segmentation on our website with separate lead magnets for each segment. Like
Yeah.
practically overnight, our email signups doubled.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think you're right on the whole, advice on really honing in on your niche. And I think that's where, I tell people like I've actually been really lucky because I actually started back in the day as just an AdWords agency. Like I wasn't a full
Yeah.
service. I didn't do websites. I didn't do SEO. I didn't do whatever social media. I just did AdWords and purely because that's all I wanted to do. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't a genius. I wasn't strategic. It's just that's all I wanted to do, and I thought stuff it. But in fact, that actually was the best decision I made. And in the end, I ended up adding Facebook ads, and it was just PPC
Mm.
work. But I have had, it has been tempting to kind of broaden that to incorporate landing pages and web design, to incorporate SEO because customers ask for that. But
Yeah.
but maintaining focus and staying true to that has actually been very, very successful. I mean,
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, do you want a brain surgeon or do you want a GP?
that's
Like,
right.
people want that brain surgeon, they want specificity, and that specificity in your niche, it makes life easier for you because you can then just apply that angle to any topic. So, copywriting or copywriting for AdWords, like
That's right. And my membership
that little,
is just PPC stuff. So it's like a
yeah,
whole AdWords course. It's Facebook ads, it's analytics, which is just the PPC side. So
definitely. I
maintain
think
that focus.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so easy to get tempted away because there's this thing in online entrepreneurship about it just being bad to leave money on the table. But, actually it kind of depends on the table and who else is sitting there and what else is being served up alongside that money. And it's okay to not want to sit at a particular table just because there's money there. So yeah, the whole idea of well, my customers are also asking for these things. Well, of course they are, because it's more convenient for them to not have to find another supplier if they can talk you into doing something else for them. And also, if they trust you, then Of course, if you can do something for them, of course they're going to want to choose you. But just because they want it doesn't mean you should deliver it. If you try to be all things to all people, you end up being nothing to nobody. So yeah, maintaining that razor focus on the niche. And even in our case, when I say, I would focus even more. Like, this is going from what is already a pretty tight niche, memberships and online courses, to just memberships. So it's not going from not niched to niched. It is going from niched to like hyper niched.
Super niche.
Because even with memberships, it's a very specific type of membership. It's not a membership association where you meet up in a dusty bingo hall. It's not subscription or recurring revenue like subscription boxes or SaaS. It is e-learning, online-based community memberships.
But I think your example of the exotic fish is the prime example of a niche within a niche within a niche. It's not just in the pet niche. It's not just in the fish niche. It's in the exotic fish niche.
Absolutely. And if you're in a crowded market, so as an example, podcasting, we've got maybe, I don't know, possibly a dozen podcasting memberships inside our community, and while that itself is a niche, it is crowded. So yeah, you can go further. Some of the memberships that we've got in there, they are for podcasters, but they are for podcasters who are at that growth stage, or they're specifically just for podcasters who are in that beginning stage. So launching a podcast, growing an existing podcast, getting sponsorships for a podcast. There's always another angle. You don't want to go so razor focused. You don't want to be, the membership for podcasts about video games that have two hosts. Like, you're maybe stepping over. Yeah. But, if you are in a niche and you're faced with that thing of, I've niched down, but there's still a lot of competitors, so maybe I should just go broader. Like, maybe just go that one little step further and, focus on just one segment of that audience.
Definitely lots to think about. Mike, you have definitely given us a huge amount of content today. I wanted to thank you for coming on today's show. You've been an amazing source of knowledge, and your experience and insights are invaluable. So before we stop recording, where can people find out a little bit more information about you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I always enjoy any opportunity to whip out the soapbox and ramble on about this wonderful world of membership. So I very much appreciate you having me on the show.
It's my pleasure.
That's good. Anyone who just want to find out about us, best place is themembershipguys.com. That's where we blog, podcast, and have a whole bunch of free stuff. If you want the real good stuff, as well as access to myself and Callie, that's over at membersiteacademy.com. That's our membership about memberships, where we've got all the training, resources, tools, and community support you need to build, manage, and grow a successful membership website.
Yes, you do have an amazing community there. So
thank you.
Definitely go check it out. Mike, you've been very generous with your time, so I will let you go. But thank you again for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Talk to you soon. You have been listening to the Talking Web Marketing podcast. For more information or resources on today's episode, head on over to talkingwebmarketing.com.